The bone block. One of the coolest and most unique building blocks in Enshrouded. However, on its own, it can appear a bit flat and lifeless. Maybe that's the point. But in this video, I'm going to show you a few tips on how you can better incorporate them into your builds and really bring them to life. Well, you know what I mean. Okay, so here's a 4x4 wall I've made purely with the bone block, and as you can see, it just sort of repeats the pattern a bit too much, which isn't an issue with stuff like stone and wood necessarily, but with this I think it kind of ruins it. So in my opinion, the best block to complement this is going to be the weathered stone block. So if I take that out here, just we're going to pop it down next to the bone so that we can kind of compare. So at first glance, it doesn't look like anything special. You can see it's all kind of cracked and stuff like that, but I mean there are other stone blocks that have a similar feel to this. However, if you start to kind of, I don't know how much you've played around with it, but if you kind of cut into it or put even like a shelf there, you can see it kind of adds these little bone pieces to it, which, as you can imagine, is going to mesh quite well with all this. So the plan is to essentially take this block as our foundation, so to speak, and then kind of cut into it a little bit and add the bone blocks to it. So we're just going to take a couple bits out here. Again, you can see the bone. It just, honestly, this alone looks really cool, but adding some of the bone to it is going to make it look even better. What I'm going to do actually is add another layer to the back of the wall here. That way when we cut through, there won't be any light coming through, because obviously I'm assuming you would want to use these kind of blocks for like dungeons and crypts and things like that. So if we start filling the gaps a little bit like that with the bone block, let me just kind of turn the hood off so you can see. Not that the hood made any kind of difference, but so we don't really want the bone blocks in like an open area. So like here on the left of it, obviously, there's just a big gap there. To me, it doesn't look right. So like this, where they're kind of enclosed, looks really good. And I think that's what we're going to attempt to kind of stick with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a load of them coming down here. And then we can make some kind of support on this side to sort of close them in. So it doesn't look too bad as like a tower like that when you have two stacked on each other. But one by itself just looks, I mean, if I put one down, it's... What are you doing? What are you doing, little fella? You don't look right. You don't look right. Okay, so I'm going to take the like large pillar block and I'm going to just bring it out slightly and pop it down there. Just kind of close the bone blocks in a bit. And do the same on this side. So again, I'm making this build with like a dungeon or a crypt in mind. So you could take some like wall torches and kind of put them on either of these. Now unfortunately these are 2 blocks wide, so I can't like cut into the middle of it to put something inside, but we could sort of go into the side there and see how that looks. Let's put a couple of bones in there. It looks pretty cool. If we cut out a little bit more here, put a few more bone blocks in. Okay, so we've got the 2 pillars here, and then the shelf down here, but I think with the pillars being there, we could maybe bring the shelf out a little bit more to give it a bit more depth. Okay, now you could play around with different kinds of stone too. If we take a look at the... ironically enough, the fancy stone block actually goes quite well with the weathered and the bone blocks. I'll just pop a couple in so I can show you. Like, it doesn't look too bad. How does it look if I just put like 2 around there? Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know this. We're learning together here. So I placed the fancy stone block and the bones from the weathered stone actually appeared on the fancy stone. I thought it was a part of the weathered stone block itself, but I guess not. So we could essentially make like a second shelf here, right? And then potentially we'll get a few more bones on it. What's going on with my textures? It looks pretty cool, you know. Looks pretty cool. Slightly different colour to the rest of it, but I think that kind of adds. It definitely complements it. And finally, we're going to take a couple of skull candles, and because we've still got 1 or 2 gaps here in the wall, and I did this on purpose so that we can pop a few of these bad boys down. And as you can see, it looks pretty damn good. It looks pretty damn good. Where could you go? Where could I make a hole for you? I'm going to try you up here. Come on, get up there. Get up there. There we go. I like it. I like it. And then I may take a couple sort of regular candles too and just put a couple down here. And that essentially is going to be it for the build. Again, you can play around with different kinds of stone or whatever you want really. But yeah, it just prevents the bone blocks from looking a bit flat as they do here. For me, it's just a bit too much building entirely with bone blocks. So mixing them in to like the weathered stone or stuff like that, it works pretty well. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please drop us a like, consider subscribing for more tips, and we'll see you next time.